Hello and welcome to Native Speakers Academy's Underground Education. My name is G and I am your host. This is designed to be a short digital media netcast in which we are going to look at different issues related to education, schools, society, and learning in general. Our aim is to highlight ideas that empower you to take more control of your own life. And so today's article is Paradigm Change. British docs turning to prescribing books for depression. It is written by Elizabeth Renter and the source is naturalsociety.com. And the link to the source will be posted together with this audio, and so you can read through the article with me if you want. I think what we're going to do today is not just read through this one article, but look at two articles that this writer references so that we can get a more full overall picture of the subject. So, let's get on with it. British doctors turn to prescribing books for depression. If you're a reader, you know how a book can transport you to another world or make you think about things in ways you hadn't before. By depending on the content, books can be far more than a form of escapism. They can truly change your life. Yes, by planting ideas into your head, of course. Bibliotherapy, or the use of books as a form of treatment, is becoming more widely embraced in Britain, and is being used by doctors who hope their patients will find relief from depression in the pages of popular volumes. According to a Boston Globe article, which we'll have a little look at later, the program was launched by Britain's National Health Service and allows primary care doctors to prescribe self-help books to patients suffering from mild to moderate depression. Depression that may otherwise be treated with potentially damaging antidepressant drugs. Yes, you don't want to get involved in that kind of psychological experiment, especially not in your brain. Who knows if what they do they can't undo. Titles like The Feeling Good Handbooks, Mind Over Mood, and Overcoming Depression seem to be the most popular according to rawstory.com. We'll also get to that article as well. Doctors say they see positive results from many of their patients, and their own observations aren't the only proof of effectiveness. More than one study has linked self-help books to aiding in the treatment of depression. One reportedly found it to be as effective as individual or group therapy, and another similarly found books to be effective in short-term treatment of anxiety disorders. And one of the reasons why I don't like articles like this is that they randomly mention studies without providing links to them, so I can't actually check the origin of those statements. So without actually checking the origin, I can't know if they're actually accurate or not. But let's continue. Books that teach you to outthink your moods are positive in that they have no negative side effects. I think everything has side effects. Big pharma solutions, on the other hand, do have side effects. As a matter of fact, prescription solutions have been known to make things worse. Really, just look at the number of cases of self-harm or suicide after prescribed medicine. In addition to the self-help titles these doctors are prescribing, it would be useful for the patients to also look at materials related to nutrition. Of course it would. What we eat has a huge impact on how we feel. Of course it does. Our body doesn't work if we don't give it the right fuel, both physically and emotionally. Changing your diet or reading books is far easier than paying for drugs that may or may not help, and that also may very well leave you feeling worse than before. So that's the original article by Elizabeth Renter from naturalsociety.com. If we take a quick look at the references there, the first reference was a Boston Globe article, which is just a few lines under the section of ideas. It has the title, "When Doctors Prescribe Books to Heal the Mind. Can you read your way to psychological health? Britain is finding out." More than 350 million people worldwide suffer from depression. That's called progress, ladies and gentlemen, or being forced to work 8 hours a day and spend that time dealing with other people's problems, building other people's dreams. Complete waste of time, really. Fewer than half of the 350 million people receive any treatment. Even fewer have access to psychotherapy. Around the turn of the millennium, antidepressants became the most prescribed kind of drug in the United States, which is kind of scary. In the United Kingdom, 1 in 6 adults has taken one. Not me, my friend, not me. But what if a scientist were to discover a treatment that required minimal time and training to administer, and didn't have the side effects of drugs? Well, I imagine the drug companies would be panicking if that happened. Mind you, the scientists are actually paid to do what the drug companies tell them to do, so that's probably not going to happen on a large scale, although we can hope. In 2003, a psychiatrist in Wales became convinced that he had found a treatment that required minimal time and training. Dr. Neil Froude noticed that some patients, frustrated by year-long waits for treatment — imagine having to wait a year, my God — were reading up on depression in the meantime. Good. Self-help. Solve your problems yourself. Anyone who comes into your life who you don't know, who is going to present you with a solution which is going to solve all your problems in your life, needs to really be looked at very carefully, because it doesn't happen except in those Hallmark TV movies. Anyway, more than 100,000 self-help books are in print, and a handful often seemed to work. And this additional article was written by Leigh Price, and it can be found at bostonglobe.com. The second referenced article is from rawstory.com, and it's written by Travis Geddes. The title is "British Doctors Start Prescribing Books to Help Treat Depression, Anxiety and Other Disorders." Doctors have been prescribing books to help treat patients with depression in hopes that reading will help them find connections. Remember that the term or the word library comes from the Latin libre, which had 3 meanings. One was book, the second was child, and the third was free. Could it possibly be that by giving the right books to children at the right time, you could help them to live a more free life? Perhaps that's some knowledge that we've lost in history. Anyway, under a new program that was launched in June by Britain's National Health Service, primary care physicians may recommend specific titles. They are controlling which books. Specific titles to patients diagnosed with mild to moderate depression. I'd recommend the Roald Dahl books, personally. Bibliotherapy is based in part on research by the Welsh psychiatrist Neil Froude. who noticed some of his patients had begun reading about their mental health conditions. And some of the books appeared to help. British doctors are prescribing such titles as Overcoming Depression, Mind Over Mood, and The Feeling Good Handbook for patients diagnosed with depression. And they're prescribing other books for patients with such conditions as obsessive compulsive disorder, phobias, anxiety, and eating disorders. Some of the many problems that pervade society as the result of the complete breakdown of our social system. The term bibliotherapy was first coined way back in 1916 by the American clergyman Samuel Crothers, who noticed that books could influence a person's mood, really as if nobody else previously in history had noticed that, or as if we ourselves had not noticed that. And physicians and social workers have been recommending books to help others with their problems ever since then. But researchers have found that some self-help books read under a therapist's supervision are about as effective for treating depression as individual or group therapy. Another study found that books could effectively treat anxiety, even without a therapist's guidance, although the effects have been shown to be relatively short-term. But as budgets for mental health treatment are slashed in the US and Britain, physicians have found that books are quite literally better than nothing. I wonder if it's such a bad thing, slashing those budgets. People pushed to the edge often find interesting solutions or alternatives. Even if recommended titles do nothing more than crowd out misinformation found in print or online, doctors say bibliotherapy justifies the cost of the book. And that reminds me of an article which I read recently about life expectancy in jobs. And did you know that the job with the longest life expectancy, according to the article I read, was in fact the job of librarian? Quite interesting. I'm sure you can yourself think of some reasons why that might be the case. The reading agency has also suggested some fiction and poetry titles for patients with specific mental health conditions, although the group cautions that its recommendations are nominated by reading groups and not tested by scientists, because we need to have everything tested by scientists, because reading groups obviously couldn't be as powerful as the knowledge of science, which is the new religion. Finally, I don't think we could claim that they are therapy or a substitute for therapy, said Judith Shipman, who oversees the group's Mind Boosting Books program. But for those who don't quite need therapy, Mind Boosting Books could be a nice little list. Now, I wonder if they are now saying that books can alter the state of the mind, that they could use that as a way of restricting people's access to books, saying that it would have a negative effect. Well, let's not put ideas into people's heads, shall we? Anyway, thank you for your attention. As I stated at the beginning, links to the article and links to the main article and other articles will be posted together with this information online. And Native Speakers Academy. We are a small independent centre for educational theory and research, so please support us by visiting our websites nsa-slovakia.com and nsa-education.com. We're also all over the internet everywhere. Just use a search engine. If you liked any of these articles, then please share them and support the original author's work, or you can share this little presentation. I hope to talk to you again soon, and until then, stay safe and have a good day. Bye for now.